So, what happens when a club's biggest star goes to war with his new manager just as the team is completely falling apart? Well, that's exactly what's happening at Liverpool right now. And honestly, it's thrown the entire club into absolute chaos.
Right, so let's get straight to it, because this is the big question, isn't it? How does a superstar, a living legend at Anfield like Mohamed Salah, get dropped for the biggest game of the season? We're not just talking about being rusted here. This is something else entirely.
And you have to understand, this isn't just some simple argument between a player and a manager. No. For Liverpool, this is a crisis on multiple fronts. It's like a perfect storm of public spats, a crazy injury list, and a terrible run of form, all hitting them at the exact same time. All right, first up, let's talk about the fallout. The bombshell that really kicked all of this off just before that huge game against Inter Milan. So, the club officially announces Salah is out of the 19-man squad. But the wording here, it's really telling. They're calling it a temporary withdrawal, not a suspension. That's some careful PR speak, right? The decision came from the top, the manager, Arne Slot, and the club hierarchy. They're trying to control the narrative, but make no mistake, this is a massive disciplinary move. And it looks like he's going to miss the Brighton match too. And look, this didn't just happen in a vacuum. This whole thing was a direct reaction to an absolutely explosive interview Salah gave just 48 hours earlier. An interview where he basically lit the fuse and walked away. Which brings us right to the heart of it all. The star versus the club. A full-blown war of words playing out in public. And in that interview, wow. Salah did not hold back. He flat out said his relationship with the manager was broken. And then he dropped this line, "I've been thrown under the bus." I mean, that's an incredibly powerful accusation. He's basically saying the club is using him as a scapegoat for their own problems. And the new manager, Arne Slot, his response was quick and it was sharp. In his press conference, he came across as calm, collected, but he drew a very clear line in the sand with this quote. "I'm calm and polite, but I'm not weak." The message there is crystal clear. I'm the boss. And of course, that's when the club legends started weighing in. Liverpool icon Jamie Carragher was just scathing. He called Salah a disgrace and said the interview was deliberately designed to cause maximum damage. Just brutal. And yeah, Carragher was definitely not alone. The backlash from other big-name ex-players was swift and pretty much unanimous. You've got Wayne Rooney saying Salah is destroying his Liverpool legacy. Graham Souness calling his attitude disrespectful. The consensus from all of them was simple. He crossed a major line. You just don't take private club business public like that. Okay, so that's the pundits. But what's the feeling inside the actual dressing room right now? Well, the goalkeeper, Alisson Becker, gave us a little peek behind the curtain. He was careful, admitting that players might have different thoughts, maybe some sympathize with Mo. But then he laid down the official line. We back the manager. It really shows a squad trying its best to stick together while its biggest star is basically at war with the club. But here's the thing. All of this drama, this war of words, it's not happening in some quiet off-season. It's unfolding while the team is walking into an absolute storm on the pitch. I mean, just look at this injury list. Liverpool are heading into one of the biggest games of their season, and they are completely decimated. Key attackers like Cody Gakpo and Federico Chiesa are out. Pong is still out. Endo is a concern. Their options up front are almost zero. This has to be the worst possible time to be benching your top goal scorer on purpose. And their form? Ugh, it's bad. This one number really says it all. Just 4 wins in their last 14 games. 4. For a club like Liverpool, that's not just a slump. That's a full-blown nosedive. The pressure from these results has to be immense, and you can see why tensions are just boiling over. But check this out, because the numbers behind the scenes tell a really interesting story. This chart shows their expected goals, or XG, which is basically a measure of how many goals they should have scored based on the chances they're creating. Over the last 5 games, the data says they should have scored around 10 goals. But how many did they actually score? 4. So what does that tell you? It tells you the manager's system is actually working. They're creating plenty of good chances. The players on the field are just not putting the ball in the net. So, with the present looking like a total mess, the club is being forced to look ahead to a very, very uncertain future. Where do they possibly go from here? And this really gets to the core of Liverpool's dilemma right now. On one hand, you have the public message. They're saying all the right things. We want Mo Salah to stay. But behind the scenes, it's a totally different story.
The gears are already turning, they're scouting big money replacements, and you can bet the Saudi clubs are watching this whole thing very, very closely. And that planning isn't just talk, it has a name. Reports are already linking Liverpool to Desiré Doué, this super talented young attacker from PSG. He's exactly the kind of player you'd target as a long-term successor to someone like Salah. But, replacing a legend like Mo Salah, that is not going to be cheap. The reported price tag for a player like Doué is a staggering 150 million euros. That just shows you the sheer scale of the rebuild Liverpool could be looking at if Salah really does leave. And that leaves us with the one big question hanging over everything. Is this it? Is this the messy, bitter end of the incredible Mohamed Salah era at Liverpool? Or is this the painful but necessary first step for Arne Slot to start building a new team, his team? Right now, Anfield is at a massive crossroads, and frankly, its future has never felt more uncertain.